I literally just filmed this whole intro with the camera not recording. So there's that. Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. We're going to do a fairly quick video about different products that you can use to add color to your resin. So if you're a beginner and you're not really sure where to start, then this could be a great jumping off point for you. And if anyone happens to know any other methods that I don't put in this video, then please feel free to leave that in the comments. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in because I have everything in front of me ready to go. The first thing that you can use are resin pigments or resin dyes, and this is one from Magicfly in just the shade orange, and you can see the results of using that pigment in this little piece here. It is fairly opaque. I think this was maybe 20 to 25 drops to get it to this shade, so you can add more pigment to get the right opacity for your needs. I will say for any of these methods that the more pigment or color that you add, it does impact the resin, and you may notice that it starts to cure a little faster. So you want to make sure to keep that in mind when you are adding color. But resin pigments are really great and normally take a bit less than, say, an alcohol ink would to make a resin look more opaque. The next method that we'll talk about, let me move this out of the way, is let's just go into alcohol inks, right? So I have two different alcohol inks here. I'm not sure of the brand of this one, but if you really want a wide variety of colors like I did, I actually went with an off-brand alcohol ink, or one that just didn't have a recognizable brand name like the jacquard line, so that I could have more colors than what I had. But they both work very well, and you are able to add color to your resin. So this is actually alcohol ink, and as you can see, it came out fairly opaque. It is still somewhat translucent. You can see my finger moving behind it, but the color payoff is really pretty depending on how much you add. And with golds and metallics, it usually has like pretty streaks of color there from I think just from the pigments not fully blending into the resin. So it's just really pretty. I love using alcohol inks for color, especially if I want a piece that just kind of looks I don't know, just fun and vibrant, but not too matte, I guess, so to speak. Let me show you what I mean. So this is a really old piece, and I did this all with alcohol ink. You can tell it's old, but you can see that it's bright and it's really pretty. Almost looks like, I don't know, like gummy candy. But it's not super opaque, but it's just really pretty and fun. And this is an alcohol ink piece. This one is resin dye with a little bit of alcohol ink added to that E. But this is kind of the difference. You can see that for this one, I don't know, the color just seems a little more flat with the dye, except for with this color, and that's because this is more of a pearlescent resin dye. But hopefully that can kind of show you the differences that we get between dye and alcohol ink. So one of the other ways that we can add color to our resin is by using mica pigments or pigment powders. Very easy to use, and you can use like a little scoop and scoop in small amounts to get the opacity that you want. And this is a little bit of leftover resin that has this particular shade mixed in, and it's really pretty. And a lot of mica pigment powders are kind of shimmery, so I love using them just for that alone because I love the shimmer that it can add to a piece. The next method that we have is paint. So this is an apple barrel red, what is it? Cardinal Crimson. And I actually used this, I believe, to mix into this piece. And you can kind of see on the edge where it's more opaque in comparison to what it looks like as the piece goes on. And that's from having that paint in there, because I wanted it to be not as translucent. So I wanted a little bit of opacity in the piece. And so I used 1 drop of paint to get me to this level. Maybe 1 or 2 drops. I'm not sure, but I do have a video that shows this. So you would be able to see how much paint I did use when I mixed it in. But paint is very opaque. I would say it's probably the most opaque method. So if you're using acrylic paint, just make sure that you start small. Usually I will do 1 drop and stir and see what it looks like. And if I feel like I need more, I go by the drop. I'm not as comfortable just throwing paint in as I would be with like the alcohol inks or the dyes, because of all of the extra pigment that is in paint. Eyeshadow can be used to add color to your resin. I actually have plenty of old palettes where I've dug in and taken the metallic shades out and used them to add color. And I loved it. I have a piece, or I actually have these tubes, and these have some eyeshadow that I dug out of their pans completely because I was getting rid of the entire palette. So take the pretty metallic shades out and put them in these little tubes. Now, sometimes, I will say this, you have to be careful with the makeup or the formula of some of the eyeshadows. You can see this one, the way it's made, it clumps. So when I use this, I usually have to try to be careful to maybe pour it out onto a surface and grind it a little more finely, so that when I do use it in a piece, it can mix more uniformly without those clumps being present in the actual piece. Let me show you an example of where I did not actually mix it well at all or grind it well. So this is an old resin coaster that I made a long time ago, and you can see the eyeshadow is beautiful, but all of these little areas are where I didn't quite get the eyeshadow ground up enough, and so when I stirred it, no matter how much I mixed, the eyeshadow stayed in clumps. Now in this piece, it kind of looks cool, and sometimes the effect is really beautiful, and but if you don't want that, then you just want to be careful that you grind up the eyeshadow really well. The white that you see here is actually, I believe, this matte white. And the reason it looks shimmery is because I think it's coming off of that pink, but also because I may have added a little bit of glitter or a shimmer pigment to the powder, but that's that white. So if you see this cute little thing behind me, would you believe that there is no pigment in this piece? This is all liquid highlighter. So I actually have these Cover FX drops that I've had for a while, and the glitter itself is beautiful. I love it. I think it's so pretty. However, I don't personally put that much glitter on myself. So I was like, well, I wonder what it would look like in resin. So this is the result of me wondering what it looks like in resin, and it's so beautiful and sparkly. And I just added some imitation gold foil there, and that's how I got this. And that was all with the liquid highlighter. Another thing that you can also use, if you happen to have that around, is like pigment powders. These are the Vanessa Meyer's Halo and Light powders. And I actually think I'm going to use this powder in a piece today and see how it turns out. But it is an option. I have several of these powder highlights, and I don't use highlighter like that. especially not the powdery ones, because to me they just seem a little too shimmery. But for resin, I think they're gorgeous. So that is an option that I exercise. So if you happen to have any beauty products or makeup that you have lying around that you just don't want to use and don't think you'll ever use, but you also don't want it to go to waste, then I would say definitely try it out in some resin. I have gotten some fantastic results just trying different things. So it is an option for you. So those are just a few ways that I add color to my resin pieces. Hopefully this has been helpful to some of you out there that are just starting your resin journey, or that have already started but just want to find different ways to make your pieces a little more unique to what you want. But that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.